I would say my life is a story more of two John Paines. First one is the normal guy that graduates from college and is married to his childhood sweetheart.
Oh, isn't that disgusting?
Enjoyed being a husband to my wife, enjoyed being a father to my children.
We had a really fun time as a family. He enjoyed the kids a lot.
It would be a bone. It would be a barb. A comb.
Truly felt like I had a pretty good life.
You know, it was a lot of fun growing up in our house. We're always been a big, loud family, and I love that. We always had adventures together from the time we were kids. I just remember adventure after adventure after adventure. And we grew up kind of in the country, so we got to go play and see and do, and that's kind of how I connect with God, is in nature, so that was a lot of fun.
Really see some skies.
You just look clear out here. Oh, check out that. Look how the clouds are.
Yeah.
At a young age, we would go to Colorado every year and go skiing. We would go to the beach every summer and just hang out. And then one thing that was fun about Dad is that he wanted to engage with us, no matter what station of life we were in. So he would pick something either that he thought would be interesting to us or that we were already doing. And we started traveling, and maybe 2 or 3 times a year, we'd go down to Mexico, we'd scuba dive, and it was so much fun.
Amazing.
Yeah. Look at those chops there.
I have fond memories of being a kid and just playing with Dad. He was the strongest, he was the fastest. He always seemed to just be the winner of everything. Which was really fun to be on the winning team all the time.
We are the greatest.
Every son thinks their dad hung the moon. I get it, but my dad hung the moon. I mean, this guy was Superman. He could do anything. Didn't matter what it was, my dad could do it better than anyone else. And you know, I mean, and I was a kid, I was proud of my dad, but all the neighbor kids would come over. Everyone was so astounded with my father. He was bigger than life. And he was my pop.
Thank you, Daddy. Got everything.
Well, he loved Christmas, and everything had to be just right for Christmas. And he would get the camera all ready, and the Christmas tree, he turned on the Christmas tree, and the kids were upstairs. They couldn't come down till he told me that they could. And so they were like, Dad, please can we come down? Please can we come down? And so finally, when he had everything just right, had his cup of coffee, everything was fine, then he would go, okay, and the kids could start coming down, and then he would have it all filmed, and everything, though, had to be just perfect. Everything had a certain order.
No, that's Josh's ball.
The best thing to do.
Thank you, Sam.
It was fun, but we laugh about that.
Oh, that smells so good.
He worked a lot. He was a very hard worker. He was in construction with my dad. His degree from A&M was in building construction. And so he worked long hours and was a very type A personality.
Well, look, John's a consummate businessman, consummate entrepreneur. He has a great mind for business. John could always, you might say, out-trade the guy across the table. So every transaction that I was aware of, where I watched John in action, and we were in 1 or 2 very active business roles together, it was clear that he was head and shoulders above most of the people in the room from a business perspective.
Time was always a big thing to me. never seemed to be enough of it. And did I say I worked hard? I did.
If I had, say, a Hall of Fame of businessmen, and I've been blessed to have that. I have people that are very wealthy, very sharp, very astute, and I'd put John right at the top of any of them. He can analyze a business, pages of numbers and data, and legal sorts of things better than anybody I've ever been around.
I'll tell you, there was a few things missing that I really didn't want to tell anybody. And that is that the intimacy of relationships wasn't what I truly wanted. I was a pretty advanced cased controlaholic, perfectionist, never waste a moment of time. Even enjoyed teaching others time management. And little did I know, I would be having lots of downtime. I just didn't know it at that time. I was 48 years old at the time, lifting weights 3 days a week at a local gym. And I noticed I began losing muscle in my left arm. So it was unusual that I would begin to lose strength in an arm and have a few muscles right in my forearm that were twitching and would not stop. Margaret insisted that I see a doctor, and over a several month period, had a battery of tests. They were taking so long, saying so little. Don't these people know I can't keep coming back up here? My time's more valuable than this. The neurologist comes in, looks at me and says, I'm sorry to inform you, but we believe you have ALS. I looked at her. She goes, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Okay, so what do we do next? She goes, it's Lou Gehrig's disease. It suddenly hit me that things didn't work out so well for old Lou, considered the Iron Man of baseball, and yet it rendered him paralyzed.
ALS is a progressive disease, and it's characterized by involvement of motor nerve cells and an injury to motor nerve cells. And it leaves people with weakness, with muscle atrophy, with trouble moving, with stiffness. It can start very subtly with a little bit of trouble lifting with the foot, or some weakness in the hand, or slurring of speech, trouble swallowing. And it is a progressive disorder, so it can start with very mild symptoms, and over time, it of course becomes more severe.
Wow, that couldn't be me. Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
He didn't have any idea, and she told us, you have ALS, and you have 2 to 5 years to live, and you need to get your affairs in order.
I got in the car and literally could not hear anything. I mean, cars were going by, but couldn't hear anything. I was just lost in the trauma of this diagnosis. We drive home. Margaret and I look at each other, and I'm like, what do we do next? Nothing seemed right at the time because our world had just gotten turned upside down.
And the fear of him being taken away was insurmountable to me.
I was realizing what she was going to have to go through, too. And that played heavy on me.
I remember leaving there just with the weight of the world, thinking, what am I going to do? I'm not hearing any hope in this. And my dad always knows the right thing to do, and he didn't have a good answer.
I had no idea that anything was wrong. It was probably because I had just gotten married. The idea of living in a world without my dad in it was just really hard for me to wrap my head around, especially in that short period of time. And I remember, like, literally it just washed over me, this frustration and anger about, I had done all of this work and I'm entering the medical field as a nurse to help people, to offer hope to people. And for my dad, one of the people I love most in the world, medicine has nothing.
ALS can strike really anyone. If you had to say the peak age is 55, but it can strike someone in their 20s and someone in their 80s. And, it affects men and women, it affects all races and backgrounds. We don't know why it starts. In most cases, it is what we call sporadic ALS. That means it comes out of the blue, usually in someone who's been very healthy. There's no clear family history.
The medical community, as hard as they try, they have not found a cure. In a way, you have to accept that. At the same time, you must always fight for more time.
Yeah, I didn't know a lot about ALS, and so I started reading. And I started talking to people and hearing stories. And this is very uncharacteristic of me, but I stopped. It never worked out. And my experience with my dad is it always worked out.
We get home from dinner. I need to be by myself. And so I went into the study, had the lights out. It was dark. I had been pounding on the desk. How could this be? This was something that happened to others. It didn't happen to me. This kind of stuff just didn't happen to me. And as I quieted myself and closed my eyes, leaned back, I will just tell you that God's voice began to speak to me in my mind. He said, John, I want you to gain my perspective. It's as if there were 3x5 cards dropping down from the ceiling, and there were words like Margaret, different partnerships, different companies, various assets, and there were all kinds of things written on these cards. And what I was realizing is that all those things related to me. And then, as if a puff of wind brushed everything off of my desk, and all those names went over onto the floor. Some were right side up, others were upside down. And God goes, nothing will ever compete with me again. Because we're going to be spending a lot of time together. I found out how few things were truly significant in my life, and how many things did not need to be competing, not only with God, but with my family. You see, when the foundation of your life is shaken, you've got to have something to stand on that won't move. It was one of the many times that God provided His comfort at a time when I felt that the world as I knew it had fundamentally changed.
And I just remember like it was yesterday. And that began the spiral of watching him lose things. I remember when a class got too heavy for him to pick up. All those little things, they're huge. Each one is grief.
It really started dawning on me the physical toll that ALS was having on my dad. After my wife and I had we had twin boys, and Dad came up to the hospital, and we had to position his arms just the right way so he could hold them. It was really hard because I was just realizing this is serious. This is actually happening. When we were just talking about it, but he seemed fine in the beginning. This was the first realization that things aren't going to be the same.
Seeing him become weak when he had been so strong there was grief there. In every stage, there was something you had to say goodbye to.
Just one little thing, one after another. When you don't think anything else can be taken away, there's more.
He held on to everything until the last possible moment before he couldn't do, dressing himself, feeding himself, walking, all of those things he held on to as long as possible. I remember one time I had written him something, and we were in Colorado at the time, and I had read it to him, and I stood up, and he stood up, and I went and I hugged him, and I said, "Oh, I love you so much, Dad." And he goes, "Oh, I wish I could hug you, baby girl." And Eric, my husband, jumps up and comes around and grabs his arms and pulls him and holds him there for a while. So that was probably the last time I felt his arms around me, at that moment when Eric was holding his arms there. It reminds you to cherish things. I mean, how many times do you think, oh, I'm gonna really cherish this hug, or I'm gonna really cherish this moment. It brings everything to the forefront.
Diagnosed with a 100% terminal illness is that it became frightening to think about the future. And because no one gets better, once you're given a diagnosis and you can come past the denial, anger stage and begin working more into the area of acceptance, I will tell you that for me, began to learn that God was actually in the present. Most of my life had been spent living in the future. I was really not enjoying the present that much because I was thinking and planning and orchestrating toward the future. And it almost seemed like a waste of time to live in the present. I began to realize that God never meets me in the future, nor does he meet me in the past. He meets me in the present. And that was a great concept for me because it gave more value to the present. I had learned earlier that activity was the thief of creativity. I was kind of proudly coined that concept. And but what I didn't realize is that activity was also the thief of intimacy with others, and particularly God. And so I began to realize that inactivity had value also, which is really great to learn when physically you will be forced to accept a paralysis that requires inactivity.
Like many men, John and I both confess to each other that one of the difficulties in our Christian walk is that of control. You know, males typically want to be in control all the time. And John was no different than that. He will tell you that. He was a control freak, and most of us are. That's just how we run our lives. And the thing that John says he learned out of this was to give that up.
I love to stay up and read a book at night, and Margaret's asleep, so I go to get in bed. The sheets are back, so I lay down, was trying desperately with my fingers to grasp the sheet, but I realized that I was not going to be able to pull the covers over me that night. I'm starting to get a little agitated, really even knowing that this was coming. I just wasn't ready for it that night. So I closed my eyes, started to pray. Before I could get the first word, a screen comes on in my mind. A projector is shining and I can see it, and it is me. I realize I am venturing a little bit further beyond the bounds of where my mother and father allowed me to go. In a particular creek that I was infatuated with, and I would go way past those boundaries. And I can hear the water. I can hear the leaves of the trees. And I'm just loving this feeling of independence. And it just feels great. But then there I am, a few years older. And I'm on my bike. And I could ride beyond the junior high where the boundary was. And I could go a little bit further. And I just loved this feeling of independence. Next was the car, and how great it was to be in my car. It was exhilarating. I'll tell you that the screen went dark. As it did, God spoke to me and said, I've designed you for dependence on me first and others. And I sat there with a thought. I said, how could this be? How could I have missed something so fundamental and so important? Because even then, as God is speaking, I'm going, no. I mean, dependence is weakness. Dependence is not winning. Dependence is, it can't be a good thing. And I have fought hard to be independent. I thought independence was a virtue. God was saying, no, it was the right time to get this straight. Because my body was taking me to a place, whether I liked it or not, of dependence. And I knew my current way of thinking was going to fight it every step of the way. God was helping me to realize the truth that dependence wasn't failure. Being dependent is actually a part of my design. How self-sustaining I was trying to live. My need for independence was literally pushing God away from me. And I didn't want to live that way anymore. And so I asked for forgiveness. As I sat there, I could feel like weight being lifted from my shoulders. And it felt good. It was an intervention into my life that I needed so greatly. But God wanted me to accept the reality of my humanness and the reality of my dependence upon Him.
Because John was a very, very self-made man, very confident in everything he did. And to see the physical part of him diminish, the spiritual rose up and up and up and up and up. And I thought, I saw that change where he, the self-sufficiency was not like it was, but his walk with the Lord and his encouragement and his bolstering people, just unbelievable.
It wasn't bad to do things with Dad, but there were a lot of distractions. And what took place over the following years is the distractions were all stripped away. And we got to be together in a closer and more real sense than I think most sons ever have a chance to with their father. So while it's not the future I would have painted or pictured, it's been beautiful nonetheless, because we've gotten to spend some amazing time together.
Though their muscles have deteriorated, their nerves are hypersensitive. And so he feels everything to a heightened degree. And also when we're just sitting there, part of why my arm doesn't hurt is because this right here, but part of it is because my muscles are keeping my shoulder in socket. I mean, his everything literally, even though he's sitting down, it's pulling out of socket because it has no muscle to keep it there.
Even though one cannot move a limb or can be completely immobile. Sensation and feeling is completely preserved.
Losing all that he's lost is one thing to imagine. Doing it with all the pain he's in adds a whole nother element to it for me. That's the hard part for me, is watching him in pain. It's one thing, I know I'm sad about the other things, but to physically be in pain from the time you're awake to the time you go to bed, that has been something I have really struggled with watching. And I think it's a lot worse than what he even lets on about.
Just to live the day, he has to do so much, and he's so uncomfortable so much of the time. And yet, most of the time, he has a good attitude.
ALS is one of those diseases that, you can get sick from different things. It's not just ALS, but because of being in a wheelchair, paralyzed, that also comes with other complications. When you are just in one single position for long periods of time, then other problems come.
And it's difficult for me to plan a day because I don't know what my body will throw at me. God has placed within me a peace from Him in the midst of all of this physical turmoil. But let me tell you, as certain as I'm sitting here, I know that I can live without fear because I know my God over these last number of years has had me covered, and He always will. And for that, I'm grateful.
I really got involved in the ALS support group and help putting events together and things like that. And when I was able to put myself in an active role to be helpful towards the organization, it was good for me within, because it was something I could do, because this disease I can't control. When I first heard of the ALS Bucket Challenge, it was on the radio, and I was like, oh my gosh, people are hearing about this. This is getting exposure. And then it was on TV.
You know, the Ice Bucket Challenge is spreading like wildfire.
This was started to raise awareness for ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease.
Let's do it! All right! Whoa! That is refreshing.
It certainly raised an awful lot of money, and it'll be put to good use for research and trials. So it's very exciting.
My heart leapt for joy in a way that I can't describe.
In honor of my father, who has ALS.
Go.
Oh, wow. Woo! This is you, Dad. It's gonna be bad. I know it. Oh, ah! Whoa! Ah, okay, I'm cool. I'm cool.
Thanks to God, I have been going to church for many years, and I have learned that one of the greatest teachings of the Bible is to be able to help each other. So when I learned about this job opportunity to not only work in an office, but also help somebody, like in this case, John, it made me feel good about it because I was thinking I'm going to be able to help somebody in a unique way. Being paralyzed, you just need all the help that you can get. But I also think about putting myself in John's shoes. If I was in his shoes, I would like somebody to take really good care of me. And that's what I think whenever I go to his house or here at the office and help him. There is definitely much to do with John. Even though he's paralyzed, his mind is so alive and there's so much that he wants to accomplish. And my goal is just to help him be able to accomplish the things that he wants to do every day. The best part of everything is scheduling people to come so that he can mentor.
After the diagnosis, just really some guys started coming by, and I think several wanted just to make sure I was okay. And we started visiting. And before you knew it, we were talking about almost everything. And before I knew it, guys were talking about, would you mentor me?
We had a mutual doctor that introduced me to John. I went over to his house the first day, and John wheeled in his electronic wheelchair that I think he thought was pretty hot. So John and I immediately struck up a conversation about business. It's unique, and both of us had ALS. So we had a lot to talk about, very lively, and that was the beginning.
And so we began meeting 13 years ago, almost once a week now, and it has been the most life-changing relationship of really the second half of my adult life.
Well, the way he looked at this whole thing was that God was doing him a favor, God was helping him get in touch with who he really was and what his relationship should be with his Lord. I mean, John just took a whole different slant on this than most people. It was an amazing thing to watch. And so that in and of itself, just the way he approached it, was like a form of mentoring. So everybody he was around, John was mentoring to them. Even people he would meet in casual settings, he just looked for an opportunity to tell his story, but not the story about him and the physical challenges, but the story about what it was meaning to him in his life. I heard John say one time, it just reflects his attitude so clearly. He said, I may go home to be with the Lord a little earlier than I planned, but my role now is to take as many guys with me as I can. And that's how he's lived his life ever since he found out about ALS.
When Churchill was addressing the Harrow School for Boys, and I think he attended there, and this was during the war, and the headmaster said, "Young men, when this man comes, you will never hear a greater orator." And Churchill walked out, and he said, "Young men, never give up, never give up, never, never, never give up." And he walked off. And that, to me, typifies John. He doesn't give up. To be where he is with the length of time that he is, it's amazing to me and to a lot of other people.
When you think of a successful person, sometimes you think that they don't need anything. But I've been able to see that even successful businessmen, they need somebody that can listen to them. They need somebody that can encourage them in life, in business, with their families. He has been there to hear them and mentor them, and that's definitely his greatest pleasure.
I truly enjoy that mentoring process, friendship development, so much more than any business deal than I have ever been involved with. But it's part of the new heart, and it's part of the transformation. I mean, there is truth to doing the work and working hard. But God wants us so much to enjoy His creation. He wants us to enjoy the life He's given us. This is from a true transformation of what God has done, that I consider myself one of the luckiest men in the world. And one of the greatest miracles in life is the transformation of the human mind. And not only has He done it for me, but I actually seen Him do it with every member of my family. And you know, the best part of it is that God did all of it without me.
He always comes in with, again, just such wonderful spirit and a smile. And I think his will is very strong. And I think that has helped him. His faith is strong. I think that's helped him. I think his support in both family and caretakers, obviously critically important in helping him. And it's been a pleasure and an honor, certainly being involved in his care.
And now, the struggle of your illness. Prior to this, we've had such confidence in your physical strength. Nothing was too hard for you. And now coming to realize that our dream of looking forward to growing old together may not be God's plan for us. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know absolutely who holds tomorrow. And with love and gratitude, I look forward to each day. I love you with all my heart, and I wish you a very happy surprise 50th birthday.
2 words come to mind when thinking about John. They are amazing grace. Very few people have that grace when they're confronted with great loss and death. And John has that. Humble nature of John is really motivational. You know, the thought that John, the amazing grace, is exemplified not one day, not a week, but years. Every day he lives a life so that others may see.
I remember the first time that I invited you to go dove hunting in Brownwood. With me and my son, Greg, and my best friend from college here. Well, it was on this trip that I learned that you had concealed much of your real self. Indeed, you had deceived me at every opportunity until the moment of confession. You were an Aggie. I just didn't think he wanted to be looked upon as, you know, a tragic situation. It's just that that's not the guy I know. Our relationship was one of lots of humor, and it just didn't seem right to frankly to treat him any differently. So I didn't. We continued to go hunting. We'd go bird hunting and dove hunting, typically in the falls. And we said we'd take our friends and we'd take our sons many years, etc. And John, you know, the first year he could still hunt. I mean, he could still shoot a shotgun, and as time went on, he couldn't really lift the gun. And he would say, you know, I don't shoot very well anymore. I said, well, that's good, John, because you never shot very well. But nevertheless, he went on the trips, and it was just kind of almost a joke kind of process. So when he got to where we couldn't shoot, we made him go get the doves that we would shoot down. He was the bird boy. And we gave him a cap that said bird boy on it, you know? And so it was something we were all going through together, but rather than it being a tragic story, it was just friends trying to find a way to cope with it. And that's somewhat the way we did it.
Since the kids were little, we've always gotten Nerf guns with the sticky things on the end of them. Every Christmas, they're in their stockings and they play. And then with the grandkids, they all play. And so Emma, and John was taunting her, come on, shoot me, shoot me. And Emma shot her gun and the dart stuck. And we went and took a picture of that, and that was really funny. We have a lot of fun, and he's a good sport.
What I want my dad to know is I've learned a ton. My life has forever changed because I've gotten to see the man. I've gotten to see the heart. I've gotten to have 14 years as a gift from God to spend time with my dad with everything else stripped away.
Dad, he's become my mentor and dearest friend. I still learn things from my dad. I don't know if you ever stop. I don't ever stop. His perspective, because of ALS, because of what God's done in his life through this disease. And I'm grateful for the time that he has always freely set aside to spend with me and to make sure that I knew that I was important to him. And I want my dad to know that I love him.
And now we have a family that laughs, cuts up, can laugh through the pain, celebrate when we have weaknesses because we go back to God every time.
It has been an incredible spiritual adventure for both John and I since his diagnosis. Something I tell him a lot and write on cards for different things is I love doing life with him. And I do. I love doing life with him.
Through watching him and watching what God has done in his life and in turn what he has taught me is that he's actually created me for a reason and for a purpose. And part of that is to continue on with Dad's legacy of love. That's what I call it.
As I saw John go through this and in sharing with other people, what it did to convince me was, hey, whatever life throws at you, God's sufficient and he's capable. And someone said, I rather doubt I've ever grown except through adversity. And I've seen John grow through adversity.
Fear of loss and fear of death, it doesn't do anybody any good. It's not productive to be fearful. You have to focus on filling that hole. You always have to put something in there in terms of spirituality or your purpose in life. And once you do, your fear of death and loss will be non-existent.
He just wants to do his best at everything he does. And I know that the children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren are going to look back and they are going to have this great teaching from him, from John. One of the greatest teachings that I will always keep in my heart is his great faith. Through all these difficulties, through suffering, his faith remains very strong.
I know that the title of this is going to be The Luckiest Man, but John is not the luckiest man. I think people like myself and many others are the lucky ones. Are we who have been privileged to be part of his life and to be around him and see the man of character and integrity that he is, and it's the highest. And we're the luckiest.
If I told you that if I were given the opportunity to be fully healed. And be able to hold my wife's hand again. Put my arm around her, hug my grandchildren, pick up a cup of coffee, not have to drink it out of a straw. If I was able to be healed again and fully well, but in doing so, I would have to go back to my former relationship with God. If I had that option, or I remain paralyzed, eventually will suffocate. But I got to experience this incredible relationship with God. I will tell you, I would not hesitate. I will choose every time to maintain the relationship with God that I have today over anything, because this is true living. And it's the reason why I admonish men daily to not wait until they're dying before they start really living. It's been an incredible ride. The first part of life and the second part of life. I'm excited to share it with anyone that cares to listen.
I don't think I've ever had anything any more funny than this. I was, among other things, I was traveling all over the country selling bleach for the company and whatever. And we would get claims every once in a while.
We were shipping bleaching detergent all across the country, from Mexico City to the south to the Canadian Rockies to the north, and we had a complaint department for people that didn't care for some of the product.
Well, one day this lady calls, and she's from Garland, and she had put her bleach bottle up on a shelf, and it ate through the 2 wooden shelves. Well, bleach will leak through wood. Said it did, and ate a hole, dropped down into her laundry basket, and ruined her fine dress. But anyway, so she kept after us.
And this lady comes in, and they were irate, and even my personal executive administrator comes in with tears in her eyes, streaming down her eyes, saying, "John, this lady is," and about this time, this lady comes, is about to come barging in.
And this woman comes up the steps, and I told her, make a lot of noise. Clump, 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 clump. I'm gonna come in and get my money. And she walks into John's office, and John's sitting there. And I mean, he backs up.
I yell, call 911. I'm outside. He hired an actress. I'm out there hiding up against the wall. And one of our vice presidents comes out and goes,
John, gotcha.
I've had my share of heartache. I've had my share of pain. I'm not a man of sorrow. I'm grateful for every day. And nothing will keep me down. I've had some time for thinking, and I've had to change my ways. And I thought my life would be over, but only for amazing grace. Oh, nothing will keep me, nothing will keep me down. And nothing will keep me, nothing will keep me down. When I know who loves me, I am the luckiest.
But you know what a compass always does? It goes back to north. It always comes back to true north.
Your comfort is all I need.
How's it feel, Dad?
When I know who loves me, I am the luckiest man. When I know who loves me, I am the luckiest man. Oh, when I know who loves me, I am the luckiest man. Oh, I know who loves me, and I am the luckiest man. I am the luckiest man.
Just one more story. I was attending my first ALS clinic to learn about all of the resources available for people like me. I was surrounded by others, all at varying stages of progression, knowing intellectually about this horrible disease does nothing to cushion the blow of seeing people totally, I said totally, paralyzed from head to toe, with mostly hopeless expressions covering their faces. It was almost more than I could stand. To swallow the truth of your diagnosis is hard, but to witness your future, that was horrifying to me. My instinctive reaction was to say, please, please, dear Lord, do not let this happen to me. Do not let me just exist like this. My greatest fear was to just exist. But that was then. This is now. Many years have passed, 15 to be exact. And today, it is my turn to be paralyzed from head to toe, relying on machines for every breath, and totally dependent upon others. My life today is far from mere existence. You see, the presence of God is what produces abundant living. And it is far greater than anything ALS could dish out, or negative circumstances could ever produce in your life. You see, I count it pure joy in living by life's purpose, which is helping others to know and walk closer with God. That's real living. I want to personally thank each of you for coming tonight, listening to my story and about my God. Your encouragement and prayers have helped make this project possible. I am humbled by your presence and your response just to be here tonight. Much love and blessings to each of you. All my love.